sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I'm trying to.
0.
You're listening to Launch with Kim
and Dr. Newt
on PRAYZ.FM.
Welcome to Launch, everyone. Welcome.
Welcome. Come on in the room.
It's Kim.
And Dr. Newt.
I said that backwards.
That's okay. You can say my name. Say my name. Say my name.
Hope everyone's doing well in the midst of all the
Yes.
the trial or chaos is going on.
The corona,
Hey.
as a blogger calls it, the coronavirus.
I call it the tap on the shoulder. It's a tap on the shoulder for us to get things in order, to walk in faith here. So we thank you guys for joining. Those who are logging in so
Thank
far.
you.
All right, you guys, thank you. We don't talk about millennials tonight. Yeah.
Millennials.
We don't talk about millennials tonight. Little controversial.
Little bit.
We've heard a lot about the millennial generation. We hear things like that they're the first fatherless generation. You hear all kinds of things
Kinds of negative
about
things.
that generation. But we want to welcome you in today.
Welcome.
Yeah, and it's PRAYZ.FM, right? And we're running live, I believe, on a couple of different platforms here. So we want to thank you for that. I'm going to keep looking down at my phone so I can get everything right, you guys.
Try to get it set up.
I apologize for that, but I'm not a millennial.
Right. They don't even look down.
So I have to look down and get it right. But tonight we want to start a new segment. So we were talking about pursuit of purpose in our last few episodes that we've done. So we want to start a new segment tonight where we want to talk more about millennials, and we're titling it Millennials Misinformed,
Or
Misguided,
or
Misunderstood,
are they
Most
powerful?
So we just want to kind of address those things, kind of see what the word says about it.
Right.
We want to talk about a little bit of research and data that we know because we're both educators, so we kind of stay in that realm as well. And we're hoping that you will log in and give your information in the chat if you have questions, if you have comments. We'll be watching that.
Yeah, and post, because we
Yes.
want to know what you're thinking,
Yes.
especially those of you who are millennials, or those of you who have raised millennials.
Right.
Which we have raised
Right.
several.
Right. So we want you to do that. We want you to go ahead and to invite your friends.
Yes, share
the
alike.
Because we think this is a good one, and especially the replay. We'll make sure that that's posted so you guys can have a link to that as well. So without further ado, you guys, let's go ahead and get started because we have a lot to do and we want to make sure we don't run over our time.
Yeah.
Right. So the first,
We need them.
get your launch pad.
Get your launch pad.
Get your launch pad
Take
out.
some notes here.
Get your launch pad
Got
out.
my notes already on my little launch pad.
Don't make sense for you to, get all this good knowledge and not be able to access it.
Definitely.
So you can apply it in your life and launch into something better for you.
And while he's saying that, I just want to remind you that this is called Launch with Kim and Dr. Newt. That means we are launching as well as sharing the purpose for launching. Right. So it's not just that we've launched and we have this thing mastered. No, we are launching with you.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what this is all about.
Yes. So the first section that we want to talk about, we titled that Proof of Purpose and Power.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to take you through a few scriptures. So those of you who are watching that may not be necessarily church per se, just follow us through the scriptures because we're going to use those scriptures to prove and to show how the purpose and the power that the millennial generation has, it's been laid out and laid on the millennial generation.
I like that, laid out and laid on the millennial generation.
So after we do that, we'll get into two types of millennials, and then we'll talk about that, how those two types need the same thing, and then we'll end up with giving you 5 keys or 5 things that you could do so the millennials can get back to their purpose.
Yeah.
Okay? If you're off track. If you're not, then cool. All right.
You take it and apply it anyway, because what happens is every level in life is another layer. So you end up repeating and using the same thing that you learned for the level before. However, it's just a little deeper. So
right. So again, thank you guys for jumping in. I see Miss Anderson from Get Up, Girl Up, Get Up.
Oh, he got it right this time.
Hey, I see her.
He has it right.
Thanks for logging in. So we just, without further ado, you guys want to jump in because we really want to focus on the content this time. We've already been, and I can talk a lot. All right. So the first scripture we want you guys to go to, Launchpad, write it down, is Ephesians chapter 1, verses 4 and 5. Ephesians chapter 1, verses 4 and 5. And basically it says this. It says, according as he has chosen us in him before the foundation of the world. When? Before the foundation of the world. We've already been chosen.
Already chosen.
That we should be holy and without blame before him. He having predestinated us.
Yeah.
Unto the adoption of children by Jesus Christ to himself. And here's the part I want you to focus on. According to the good pleasure of his will. So before time, he already predestined us, right, according to the good pleasure of his will. So that applies to you, millennials, right, to the good pleasure of his will. I'm going to go to another scripture right now. I'm going to give you a few, and then we're going to tie it together for you guys, all right? This one is in Romans. Romans, was it 8:22?
18:22.
What's that? 18. 18:22. Duh. 18:22. That's what she said, didn't she?
That's what I said.
All right, so I'm there. You guys, it says, for I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory with which shall be revealed unto us. So here, listen to this. For the earnest expectation of the creature waiteth for the manifestation of the sons of God. So creation and everything is waiting for the manifestation of the Son of God, right? For the creature or creation was made subject to vanity, not willing, but by reason for him who has subjected this in this same hope. So, in other words, what we're trying to say to you is that the whole creation groaneth and travaileth in pain together until now. Why now? Because you have appeared. Because you have a purpose in you. You've been predestined for something, as we said in Ephesians before. So you kind of get that first. We want you to know that there's a purpose laid on you. We've been talking about purpose, you know, since our first episode. Right? Yeah. So let me take you somewhere else as we kind of get you set up into the power of your generation. All right. So I don't know if you guys have any things in the chat right there. Again, like I said, if you're not necessarily churched, this is good stuff. This ain't stuff telling you what not to do. Right. This is stuff telling you who you are. Yeah. What God said about you when He created us and formed us. So I'm going to look at the book of Genesis. 48. Is it 48 chapter?
48.
All
17.
Right. 48:17. So this one is kind of long, 17 to 20. So kind of to set this up for you, there was a guy named Joseph, right? Whose brother sold him into slavery, and he went to jail and all these things. He ended up being Pharaoh's right-hand man in Egypt. So Joseph was from Israel. So now he's in Egypt, basically all his life, and he raised two sons in Egypt. Later on, his father and his family were reunited, and he brought them all to Egypt, right? And Joseph wanted his sons, who were raised in Egypt, didn't look like Israelites, to be blessed by his father, right? So what? This is where the scripture kind of picks up. So what he does, he explains it. So let me kind of read it. It says, and Joseph said to his father, not so much. What we start? 17 or 18?
17.
17. I'm sorry. And when Joseph saw that his father had laid for that. So let me explain this. I don't have to read. So here's what happens. He brings them before his father to get blessed. So usually what happens is the older son gets touched by the right hand of the father. Right. He gets the greater blessing because he's the older son, right? And the younger son gets touched by the left hand, right? So what Joseph did was he put his younger son on his left side and his older son on his right side. And they, were bowing down at his knees.
In front of his father.
Because his father's facing him. So Joseph's left side will be his father's right side. Joseph's right side will be his father's left side. So when his father reached out to bless his sons, he crossed his hand, right? He crossed his hand such that the right hand, the greater blessing, went to the younger son. And the left hand, the not as great blessing, went to the older son. And that's where it picks up in the 17th verse. It says, and when Joseph saw that his father laid his right hand upon the head of Ephraim, the younger son, it displeased him. And he held up his father's hand to remove it from Ephraim's head unto Manasseh's head. See, because his father, he was going blind, couldn't really see. So he wanted to make sure he was doing the right thing. And Joseph said to his father, not so, my father, for this is the firstborn. Put thy right hand upon his head. And his father refused and said, I know it, my son, I know it. He also shall become a people, and he also shall be great. But truly his younger brother shall be greater than he. Truly his younger brother shall be greater than he. And his seed shall become a multitude of nations. So we're taking that scripture, that verse there, to let you know as millennials, we're Generation Xers. So my father's, the generation before us were baby boomers. So we know that your generation has that right hand on it, the greater blessing. You're destined to do greater things than us. So we want to give you another. We're going to give you a bunch of stuff. If that's not enough for you, we want you to look in 2 Kings. That's also in the Old Testament. So that's 2 Kings in the 2nd chapter. So we're going to look at 2 different scriptures in that 2nd chapter. The first one starts on the 11th verse. You want to tell me about that?
Well, in the on the 11th verse, it talked about Elijah and Elisha, and it was talking about when Elijah was about to go away, if I can say it that way, and Elisha was asking something of him. Elijah actually gave him the opportunity to ask him for something, and what Elisha had asked him was for something great. He mentioned, what you asked is a hard thing. But then he told him, well, if you are here when I'm taken up, and then my mantle will fall on you, but you have to literally be here to get it. And so when that particular time came, he was present. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, but I just want it to, it's pretty much the story.
Right.
That if you want what you ask for, you need to be present so that you can receive it.
Right. So the key words in there was, if thou see me when I'm taken up from you, it shall be unto you, that greater thing that you're asking for. And we're going to go in that same chapter, 2 Kings, and we're going to look a little further. I believe it's the 23rd verse.
Yes.
In the 23rd verse. Now, this is key right here. So this is one of the times where now Elisha, he is that the right verse? It's not even the right verse. So I just tell you that if we can find it for you.
Tell the story.
Yeah, we'll tell you the story. So what happened is that Elisha now, he's older, right? And he's walking up a hill, and these young kids come out, they start to tease him. And they say, go up, thou bald head. Go up, thou bald head. And Elisha calls out a she-bear from the woods, and that she-bear comes out and kills all those kids.
Right.
So that sounds horrible, right? But let's take it down, because we're talking about millennials, the next generation. So the millennials will be the ones that came out and said, go up, thou bald head.
Right.
Go up, thou bald head. So you got to look at this whole thing. So bald head doesn't necessarily mean no hair.
Right.
What bald head means in this old English language is white hair, right? So it means old person, right? And go up. Remember, his mentor, Elijah, went up in a chariot of fire.
Right.
So they're now saying, you're useless now. You're old. Go up like Elijah did before you. So they're teasing him, saying, you don't have anything to offer us. Get out the way, go up. And what happened was they were killed because they didn't understand that they still needed to network with the generation before them. See, there's always 3 generations on the earth. One emerging, one coming in, one emerging that's in power, and one that's leaving. So you, as the millennials, are emerging, coming in power. So we have to find a way to synergize together. So I think we've done right now, kind of laid down a foundation for you to tell you what your purpose is.
Telling you that you're predestined according to his good pleasure. You know that creation is groaning and waiting to step in position because you are here.
Yep.
And then it also talked about how the blessing was placed on the younger son and not necessarily the firstborn. Right. And then the next scripture that we talked about 2. We talked about being able to get the mantle of the one who is mentoring you. And what you have to do is you have to be present. And then the last one was to make sure that you have honor and respect for those who have gone before you.
Right.
So those were the scriptures that we talked a little bit about.
So we're going to take a break right now, and we're going to hear a song from Travis Green, and I believe it's called Intentional, because you have been made intentional.
I know that all things are working for my good. Yeah, she's intentional, never failing. All things are working for my good. 'Cause he's intentional. Hey, and he's never failing. All things are working for my good. He's intentional. He's never failing. All things are working. Hey, I know that all things are working for my good. Yes, they are. Yeah, all things are working for my good. All things are working for my good. Here's why. 'Cause he's intentional. That's it. So he's intentional. He's never failing. Thank you, God. 'Cause he's intentional. Never failing. Sing it again, say that all things are working for my good. Yes, they are. He's intentional. Yeah, never failing. Sing that out, say all things are working for my good. 'Cause he's intentional. Hey, and he's never failing. All things are working for my good. Hey, all things are working for my good. All things are working for my good. Yeah, all things are working for my good. All right, hands up, say, we can smile 'cause we know it's working. Through the hurt and the pain, I know it's working for my good. I know it's working for my good. This my part. I don't have to worry 'cause it's working for me. Yeah, it's working for me. Yeah, and I believe it's working for me. I can smile again, and I don't have to worry 'cause it's working for me. Yeah, it's working for me. Yeah, it's working for me. Come on, sing that out, say that. I don't have to worry 'cause it's working for me. Yeah, it's working for me. It's working for me. And I can hold my head up. It's working for me. Get your confidence back. Sing, I don't have to worry. It's working for me. Hey, my faith is rising now. It's working for me. And although I can't see how, it's working for me. I know that he's intentional. Yes, he is. Hey, he's been doing it for a long time. Hey, he's been doing it for a long time. Hey, and I can give him my trust now 'cause he's intentional. I can give him my praise now 'cause he's intentional. He's intentional. And he never fails.
You're listening to Launch with Kim
And Dr. Newt
on
on
PRAYz.FM.
Hello, everyone.
Hey,
Welcome back to Launch.
welcome back.
with Kim and
Dr.
You
Newt.
got to say that every time. You got to say
Okay,
that.
well, every time. Kim and Dr. Newt. I'm so glad you're back with us as we've been talking about millennials, and we're talking about, well, actually, we're asking, how you view them, because some people view them as misguided and
misunderstood, misinformed.
Yeah. So, but I don't know. I'm just saying how some people view them as most powerful. And I know that's how I feel about them.
So we gave you some scripture references so we can kind of lay out what the purpose and the power was assigned to their lives and dropped into their lives from the creation, from the beginning of time. It said, as it said in Ephesians 1. So we're back for the second segment here, where we want to try to get into the two types of millennials. The two types of millennials. So here's where it gets a little, I'm going to say, controversial, because let's just keep it real. Usually the older generation points out all the flaws in the next generation below them. It's easy for us to see what's wrong in other folks, right? But one thing we don't always, I'm going to say, acknowledge, and some people might tune off after this, is that we train up a child in the way they should go.
Right.
And when they're old, they don't depart from that path. So some of the things, many of the things that we see in our children, we see ourselves, the things we don't like.
As people say, we try to beat ourselves out of our children.
Yes.
The truth is, they are
reflection
of, someone preached, the reflection of the reflect.
That's right. A seed can only produce after its own kind. So we want to get into two types of millennials here. And so I kind of probably shouldn't have led off with that, because I kind of gave you a hint of what I think.
But that's okay,
So get your launch pads out. And take notes for the two types of millennials, but also take notes for things that you might want to write in the chat. And we'll tell you about a midweek, what do we call it? Relaunch.
We'll call it a relaunch.
That we'll do on Facebook Live, so we can get into some more depth. Without so much time strange. But there's two types of millennials. The first type, we'll start with the positive, are what we call super productive. We're going to call them go-getters.
Double G's. They're the double G's
so
of the millennials.
Here's the deal with them. They are all about their educational attainment. And they're about getting that educational level quicker than we were as Xers.
And they do it.
Right. They're looking for advanced degrees. They're looking for technology certifications, things that they need so that they can walk into their career.
And we've seen them do that, getting their bachelor's and master's at the same time.
Right.
Those programs didn't exist when we were first going to school, but when they started, those programs were available.
And I know I was 40 when I got my first master's, and so we have two children still in their 20s that both have masters.
Already have nothing.
So it's a different thing. So that's because they're career chasers.
Definitely career, and they're more intense than we were.
As Xers.
So the Xers came out of the previous baby boom type lifestyle where everything was love and peace and happiness and and you don't need that. But those people were also very productive as well, because they're the ones who started the companies, the big booming companies. However, when the millennials came, they came knowing, so they had information, they had knowledge of what their parents did.
They saw the next level. That X we talked about, when the hands were blessed, they saw a greater thing that could be done with what was already there.
Yeah.
So they chase it more intently. They know what they want to be more sharply than we did as Xers, right? And again, we're talking about two types. These are the go-getters, right? Here's the other thing. Their relationship bonds happen much quicker than it did for us as Xers, right? Now, some of that's positive, some of that's negative,
right?
Because they connect as boyfriend and girlfriend as if they're husband and wife early in their career, even high school times, where they feel like they have this ownership of each other, which is not necessarily as positive, but they will look to create their relationships together and bond together in marriage type relationships a whole lot quicker than we did. Now remember, the divorce rate is about 50% in the country, right? That's not necessarily the smallest portion of that 50% are millennials. So
quick moving.
Yes, if they're looking, they'll do that quicker.
Financial awareness.
Oh my goodness! You talk to a millennial, they are going to talk to you about their credit. The
go-getters.
Yes.
So keep in mind, we have
Very
two.
aware.
Right now, we're talking about those who are go-getters.
Yes.
Okay, the millennials are the go-getters. Definitely aware of their financial stability. They want to own their homes. They thinking about putting money up for a rainy day sooner than us Xers did. You know, we started saving later on in life.
I didn't really think about credit until I had to buy a car or a house, and realized I didn't have any, or I did have something that messed it up.
Those were things that were really taught to you at when you were in high school or college, early college. You started learning about those things later.
For many Xers, because remember, we were more of a blue collar generation.
Right.
We were more of a hand, work with your hands,
work with your hands.
There were different opportunities.
And there were factories everywhere.
Yes.
You could get a job and work at a factory and retire and be good
forever. Right. And the other thing also we want to keep in mind is socioeconomics.
Exactly.
So if you're from I'm going to say a marginalized population, or you're socioeconomically stressed in your communities, then finances were more from a survival mindset rather than an investment mindset.
Exactly.
So because most of our listeners are from that arena, I know I am. Right?
We are.
Then finances weren't prevalent. They weren't like a conversation you had out in front, unless it was how do you get that lacquer table and them blooms in the back.
The next thing about those go-getters is they pursue their best life. It's, they go for it.
Yes,
you
they'll
see
talk
them on
about
vacation.
cruises and going to the islands and different types of content. We spent 7 years in San Diego, and one of the first things we noticed is that a lot of millennials were driving BMWs.
Exactly.
And had wonderful apartments. They focused their funds that way.
Yeah.
And I was driving a Suburban. Making 3 times what they made. But how they pursued that best life earlier said something about what they thought was reachable.
Exactly.
Compared to what we thought was reachable because of the message we heard in our ears in our generation. And I think that had to do a lot with ethnicity, race, and opportunities, me personally as a black man.
Right.
So, but anyway, those go-getters, they're there with that.
And they are problem solvers.
Yes, indeed.
Out of the box thinking.
Yes, indeed.
They don't see things like their parents see them. And those of you who are parents who are on here, you know exactly what we're talking about. You may see something on an angle and they see it a different way. They see it flipped over. We see things completely different.
And it frustrates us at times. Right.
Yeah.
Especially if you haven't had any experience with them.
Right.
So I have an opportunity to work in my position. There were about 400 people in our building, and the advisors that I worked with, they were basically all millennials. And I would come in, I'm a big picture thinker, and I'm like a go-getter for our generation, and I would come in and I would have an idea to do something, and I would present that idea to them and talk with them, and they got so comfortable with me within the conversation, in our planning process, they would say, okay, so this is what you mean, A, B, C, D. Well, why don't we just do it this way? If we do it this way, then we can combine this together, do it in one step, and be done faster.
Right.
I'm like,
Newt would come home from work and say, Kim, there's a such and such and such the millennials told me today. And that's how he would say, the millennials taught me something today. Here, the millennials showed me this today. And it was just impressive how quickly they could problem solve and organize and figure things out.
But these were the go-getters.
The go-getter.
Right? And I'm going to tell you what my position was. We're going to come to another segment to tell you what my position was to them once they did that.
Right.
Okay. So
let's talk about
what we call the unproductive.
The super. He's got super down here. Super unproductive. The entitled.
Entitled. I like.
And I know we all know these are the ones that the parents talk about a whole lot.
Right.
These are the ones people talk about a lot.
Right.
The education is not a sure thing. That's the first thing they say.
Yeah, it's not a short thing. I'm going to spend all this time and inconvenience myself and go to school. I don't even like school and might not even get a job. So why should I even go?
And they don't want to go in debt.
Right.
And be inconvenienced.
That's the reasoning that happens in their mind. Now,
and they exert all the effort in education. They don't want to do that. I don't want to exert all my effort in education. I can do some other things. Right.
So all those things are true that they're saying, but they don't add up in the end. They're not good investments in themselves. They can't.
Unless there's certain things established to create something outside of that educational realm. Right. So it's not like it cannot happen.
So,
but the chances are quite low.
can I say something? I need to say something because I always get kind of criticized because I am an educator. So when I talk about education, I'm talking about the spirit of education. I'm not just talking about a 4-year university,
Right,
or a 2-year associate's degree. I'm talking about technical degrees. I'm talking about apprenticeships. I'm talking about
Right.
military. I'm talking about hands-on training. I'm talking about trades. Educating means that you submitted yourself to learn something, to build a skill, to build and develop a skill in you so you can unlock a purpose that's in you.
right. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go to a 4-year college
talking
or a
about
2-year college or certification.
Talking about the spirit.
Exactly, the
of
spirit of education, of learning.
Right. So here's the other thing about entitled millennials, right? As far as career goes, they'll say things like, "They don't pay me enough to do all
that.
this.
Yeah.
I'm not doing all that. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing that for them.
Right.
They don't pay me enough for that." Right? They can't see the value in the work that they're doing. Meaning this, they want to start at the top. So they want to walk in with a $70,000 job,
Right.
instead of walking in at $28,000 and doing the work so they can build up to the $70,000
Right.
and be able to call the shots and change the. So those are the things as far as career goes. As far as relationship, they're the opposite of the go-getters.
Commitment is not necessary according to them.
They don't need commitment.
Why do they need to commit?
Now,
Why do I need to be loyal to you?
all this out here.
Yeah, all this out here. They
Right.
see everything and they want it all,
Right.
and they don't want to put anything to get it.
Focusing on the here and now.
How about financial?
Oh man, they're
Financial,
survival minded.
Survival minded. So, which is very similar to us.
Yeah.
How we were before. Very survival
So
minded.
not investment minded.
Not invested
So
minded.
what that means is, what can I get now?
Give it to me now.
What can I get now? What can I spend my money on now?
Entitled.
I want the best shoes. I want the best phone. I want the best belt. I want the best pocketbook. I want all that stuff like that, right?
Fantasy driven.
They're unrealistic. Very
Now, these are
unrealistic.
the unproductive
Right.
millennials. We're not talking about the super go-getters.
Right. Unrealistic in their thoughts. So for instance, they want to be on the team,
Don't want to come
but don't want to go to practice. So I used to be a high school principal. Everybody used to say, I say, what do you want to be? They say, I want to be a basketball player. And I would say, well, you're not even on the team. How you going to be a pro basketball player? You're not on the high school team.
Right.
Well, I don't want to be on the team, play for that
Play
coach.
for that coach.
You know,
So
so
they couldn't
unrealistic.
see exactly the
Right.
respect for the person who could train them or teach them.
And as far as problem solving,
Yeah.
as compared to the go-getters, they're good problem solvers, but they problem solve to meet their needs.
Their own personal needs.
And they don't take into account how
Okay.
their solution will affect anyone around them.
Right. Right. So those are our unproductive, and entitled millennials.
Right.
Now we mentioned 2. We've got 2 more minutes, so let's talk a little bit about. We mentioned 2 types.
Okay.
We already talked about.
What do
We
you call
have
Super
the
productive.
super productive
The go-getters.
go-getters. They don't stop and they don't
Wow.
let nothing stop. Remember that song? I thought I told you that we won't stop. I thought I told you that we won't stop. Those are those go-getters. It
You might not
doesn't
know
matter
that.
what you do. You cannot stop them.
Don't
You
stop, can't stop.
cannot. Exactly.
Right.
They're going to fight to get what they want,
Yes.
regardless of who's in the way.
Exactly. But I'm going to tell you something. We, as Generation Xers, if you're listening, we have a position in that. We have a position to help them unlock that go-getterness. Okay, but we'll tell you that in the next section.
And then there are hold on, before we say that, my brother has posted that his fiance had mentioned these same things last night.
Confirmation.
Exactly. That
Great minds.
you want to start at, you got to start at the
Great
bottom.
minds. I never met her. I got to meet her now.
The last one are the millennials who are super unproductive. And they are entitled, thinking that someone owes them something,
Yep.
but they refuse to put anything
Entitled.
in. Okay,
Yep.
we need to move on, and we're going to let our next song play. It's from Ty Trivet.
Hey.
He turned it. All right,
Hey,
millennials.
Turn it. Let's go ahead and turn it, millennials.
Come on, Ty.
Let's turn it to being that productive millennial.
Yes.
Go get it.
We'll be right back.
Yes, there were times in my life when I thought I would never make it. I almost went down, I was out for the count, I was through.
I testify? The devil thought that my life was short. He thought by now he thought I had no more. But that's when someone greater stepped in my situation. My morning has a
Have you ever wanted to host your own inspirational radio show? Have you been called to inspire and spread God's word? Please contact Alicia Rain for more info.
So glad you're back. So glad you're back. Are we back in? Are we back in? All right. We're so glad you're back. First of all, we want to say welcome back. And we just want you to know if you want to host your own show, just like the announcement said, all you have to do is contact PRAYZ.FM and talk to Lady Rain, the queen of the castle.
There you go.
She will help you out there. She shakes her head. She's like, no. The other thing is for pastors, you know, with all that's going on with this coronavirus, and as one of my bloggers say, the coronavirus, a lot of churches are unable to get together. And so many pastors who were not set up to reach their congregation online are struggling reaching out. So I just want you to know that PRAYz.FM is offering free Saturdays and Sundays opportunities for you to share the good news with your congregation. All you have to do is reach out to the radio station and they got your back. Lady Rain, like I said, the queen of the castle, I've said this is an apostolic move to reach out to churches and to help them to feed their sheep while they cannot go into their congregations. So if you would reach out to PRAYZ.FM, and then there's also a www, is it FM?
Same thing.
PRAYZ.FM. So if you reach out, contact Lady Rain and she can help you out so that you can reach your congregants throughout, Saturday and Sundays.
All right. I gotta say this. I saw one person join, and I gotta say this because I noticed she's a millennial. Leah Mitchell.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I always mix Leah up with her daughter.
Well, she's a millennial
She's
too.
a
Yes,
millennial.
Brian's
Okay.
wife, Victoria's, all my brother Shannon. They
Well,
are
anyway,
all
thanks for logging in.
millennials. I'm hoping y'all feeling it. Some of you guys that I see out there, you guys are those go-getters, but are any of you that other group of millennials? I'm just saying.
So Victoria Mathers, you know, is a millennial. She's a college student. Was it Oklahoma somewhere?
She is at Oral Roberts University.
Right? She asked us to get more into the commitment piece. So here's what we're going to do. We'll say a couple of words now, but we will have a relaunch that we'll do midweek, and we'll send out an announcement for that. We'll do that on Facebook Live and on our page, Launch with Kim and Dr. Newt. But commitment is something, I believe you're talking probably about the relationship piece and the commitment thing. So kind of what's happened with our society.
We're committed to anything.
Yeah, we're committed. Yeah, that's what I was going to kind of say. It's the same thing.
You know.
So our society has sped up. It's fast paced now. So it's what can I get right now? What can I get right here? We've turned into a mouse click. I can click a mouse and change a whole screen, change a whole thing, go to a whole another place. And we're taking that application into our lives. So we don't necessarily understand in this generation what development or growth means. We don't understand what's called seed, time, and harvest. 3 different words, not seed, time, harvest.
Right.
You got to plant the seed, wait some time, take care of it, and then reap a harvest.
That's the key, to take care of the seed. That's the other part.
So that's kind of what I think many of you may be running into, especially as millennials, if you're a female or a male, as far as that commitment piece is concerned. But we could talk a little bit more about that.
Do that during relaunch.
On relaunch.
But yes, thank you, Victoria, for sharing. Thank you. Okay, shout out to the media people. I see you there. He said shout it out. Okay, we're going to continue on with our segment 3. That's right. Make sure you got those launch pads. And we're talking about our series entitled Millennials. Are they misinformed? Are they misguided? Are they misunderstood? Or are they most powerful?
So let's get into this a little bit here. So what we're going to do today is, right now, we're going to talk about, we talked about the entitled and the super go-getters. So we're going to tell you that they both need the same thing.
Oh, that's good.
They both need the same thing. And here's what they both need. They need us. They need us, the generation before them, right? And here's what they need us to do. So we've kind of given you some scriptures ahead when we started in the beginning, where we talked about Ephesians 1:4, predestined according to his good will and good pleasure. We talked about creation is groaning and waiting for us to step into position. Well, that applied to my generation.
Yeah.
I needed to step into position so that what was to take place in creation happened. But there's a generation after me. Now, we talked about that X blessing, where those hands crossed and the younger generation got the greater blessing. That meant they had a greater responsibility. That meant they need to take creation from where I left it to the next step, to the next level. And they can't do that unless we work together. All three generations have to synergize together. The generation that's emerging, the one that's in power, and the one that's fading or going away. We need to work together, and that's evident in the story about the go up thou, O bald head. That's what they were saying. Elijah was saying, listen, if you're not going to respect what I bring to the table, the experiences I have, what I know, what I can do to help you move creation in your realm, in your generation, then you're no good. So what we have to do is we have to get in place because we're the key to their productivity. We're the key to their productivity. So the first thing we do for millennials is we provide inspiration.
That's right.
So
we're supposed to provide inspiration.
So let's look at inspiration. Spire, that word spire, that's the, if you ever look at a church and they have that tall thing at the top of the church, that's called a spire. So when we inspire the next generation, we get them to look inside themselves so they can reach to their highest heights.
Exactly.
That's what we're doing. We're inspiring them. Now here, we'll inspire them by what we do and what we show them, but we can also inspire them because we haven't done that.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So that's what those go-getters see, that you have it and say, I will.
There are things in my life that I've done that my children have seen that they will never do because they saw me do it. And they're like, I don't want to do that.
And we tell them, you know, you might not want to do it this way.
You know, the next thing we do is we provide motivation.
And it can be either way. He actually mentioned it already. By the things that we don't do could motivate them to do, or the things that we do could motivate them to do them prior to the time that we've done them. So they'll do them sooner. They'll do them quicker. They may even do them better. Most times they are doing them better.
So a big difference between motivation and inspiration is inspiration is reaching internally into a young person so they can see how they can reach their highest heights. Motivation is more of an external piece where we push them, we move them, moto. There has to be movement that happens. It's not standing still. It's not just talking. It's an action. It's giving them an opportunity. It's placing something in their hands. It's standing behind them while they try something. It's making them go play on the football team, the basketball team, the volleyball team.
Stay committed.
If you start, you can't quit. And being the loudest one on the sideline running down. My wife used to do that. She was faster than the boys. They running for a touchdown. She's running around. She running down yelling, go, go, go.
And then when they were trying to tackle my babies, I was going to say, don't touch number 7. Don't touch number 3. But definitely I was motivated.
So and there was a thought that left my mind. Hopefully it comes back with the difference.
Something that had to be moved.
Oh, here it is. So here's the deal. With motivation and inspiration is something we need to realize as Xers that are pushing or growing the seeds. If you're going to get my book, Why Some Seeds Don't Grow, that are in the X generation, Millennial Generation. So they will not be just what they think they will be. So they'll have an idea. Let's say doctor, for instance. I want to be a doctor. And that's their idea. That's their dream. Chances are they're not going to become that just because that's what they want to be. They're not going to become a doctor because you see in them the capability to be a doctor. I know I say that to a lot of young people. You look like a doctor. You look like an engineer. You look like a... That won't make them that doctor.
Not the millennials.
Here's what makes them be what they're going to be. When they think that you think that they can do that. So that's our position. We have to let them know this is what I think you can do. We have to speak it into them and cause that life to happen. Open those doors. That's the inspiration and motivation synergy that happens, And
then the next one is providing counsel.
Big deal.
Providing counsel to them.
Yes. One of the toughest things we do for a couple reasons.
Right.
One, because we've made mistakes.
Exactly. And sometimes it's hard
Yes.
to share with your children when you've made those mistakes,
Yes.
especially if they were present
Yes.
during those mistakes.
Yes.
Because they hold that
Yes.
like, well,
They
you
saw
didn't do it.
They saw it.
They,
Yes.
they saw you making those
Yes.
mistakes.
And they know, they saw it.
Uh-huh.
So we get self-conscious.
Mm-hmm.
And we won't offer what we should or can offer despite whatever
Right.
I did wrong.
And that's the trick of the enemy, to keep your mouth closed
That's it.
so that you don't propel them forward.
Right.
So you
Right.
definitely need to say it regardless. I know I didn't do it, but
Right.
I'm speaking it into you because I know that,
Yes.
the old because they know the way, the
Right.
young because they're strong. You're strong enough to complete this task.
So that requires transparency.
Mhm.
It requires vulnerability, which is tough for us as men, especially black and brown men.
Mhm.
So it requires those things. And here's the next thing that we need to do.
You need to provide permission for them. They have to have the freedom to be released.
So
Yes.
millennials listening might not like that. I don't need your permission to do it. So
But it's not that kind of
that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we have stood before you in society and in spiritual realm with things that are in our hands and in our control.
Right.
We need to now open our hands and lay that in your hands
Exactly.
to tell you, look what you can do.
Giving leadership away.
Yes, we need to hear your dreams, goals, and aspirations. Speak into them with some possibilities or guidelines. That's what's called the rod of correction.
Right.
So the rod of correction is not to beat you with.
No.
The
To help you to keep
yeah,
you in line.
They kept them from going to the edges.
Right, like
they,
the sheep.
Reach
Exactly.
out in
Stay
front of
over
them,
here.
stay over here, stay in a safe place. So that's what that counsel is about. And then we just provide that permission for you to say, yes, this way is fine.
Right.
Go that way.
Go that way.
Go as far and as fast as you can. I'll be right here. If I can't keep up, yeah.
Yes,
You know?
exactly.
You text me. You know what I'm saying? So those were the things. So what do they need?
They need us to be in position and on our game.
game. So what does that mean for our game? I teach a course called Layers of Leadership 101, and there's two principles we came up. Kingdom Leadership Principle number 3, which basically says stand in the
In the
gap.
gap.
So if you remember Moses, the children of Israel, when they were in the wilderness,
He went to God on behalf
yeah.
of them.
Remember he came down off the mountain
Mhm.
and they had made that idol,
Yeah.
and God was just going to destroy them all,
He
right?
stood in the gap.
Moses stood the gap for them.
Don't destroy.
Don't destroy it. He took a bite from them, even though he knew they were wrong,
Mhm.
and it was laying him on the line. He didn't do nothing, right?
Mhm.
He could go on with his life,
Right.
but he stood in the gap for them.
Mhm.
We as Generation Xers, we have to stand in the gap for those millennials, whether they're the productive go-getters or the entitled millennials. We have to stand in the gap so they can cross over and get to where they need to go.
The next one, we need to provide generational leadership. That's
Yes.
the other principle that came from that layers of
Kingdom
leadership.
yes.
Like Moses did to Joshua and
Right.
Joshua to the people.
Right.
Generational leadership, that from this generation down to this generation.
Right. So what they did was they gave it away.
Yeah.
Moses showed Joshua how to do it,
Mhm.
and then he was put in position to.
Yes.
When Joshua got in position, first thing he did was read the law
Mhm.
and it's the assignments.
There
for
it
the people.
is. That's the millennial.
Put it all in
Get
place,
Get
right.
an understanding of it to educate themselves.
Right. So I also wrote a book real quick. We got like 2 minutes before we're going to break this segment,
Mhm.
but just real quick so I can, if you haven't gotten the book, please get it. It's called Why Some Seeds Don't Grow. Why Some Seeds Don't Grow.
Mhm.
My name is Newt Miller. It's on Amazon. So the deal is this. We can make our seeds aware of their seeds. So that's one of the principles we talked about in the book. Why they don't grow? Because they don't know what's in them.
Mhm.
You got to tell them.
Mhm.
You got to show them. You got to tell them.
That's the
This-
responsibility of us.
And that's ours, yes.
Tell them who they are
Right.
and what they have in them.
So if your child is not operating in something that's in them, it's probably because, well,
Haven't shared it.
they haven't shared it in an effective
Or
manner.
they don't believe what you say.
Right.
So you have to find another way to say it so
And
that
keep
they
saying
do
it,
believe.
and keep saying it, right? And the last principle we want to talk about before I break is rotate the crops. So if you know a farmer, they don't just plant corn on that 100 acres forever.
Right.
They'll rotate it every so many years because the
Yes.
corn will deplete the minerals,
Mhm.
certain minerals. So they rotate it and put string beans there because string beans need other minerals,
Right.
and it gives it time to replenish the
Right.
minerals that the corn would have taken. So what I'm saying is you have to find ways to get millennials in power.
Yeah.
You got to put things in their hands for them to do, and you got to let them mess up.
And let them do it.
Yes,
Exactly.
you can't make it do it your way. You got to let them mess up and be there to help them. Maybe they won't mess up. They might find a better way, which is what I have found.
Exactly.
But rotate the crops. So those are the things we need to do as Generation Xers to help our millennials be way more productive than they are being. So the question is, are you willing to do that?
Exactly.
So it's time to take a break,
Yeah,
right?
we take a little break, a little music break, and we have Paris here free. We'll be back.
My Redeemer has saved me from sin. My soul is awakened. I live free from what held me, free from what fought me mentally. You've captured me in my mind. I am free in my heart. If I am yours, I am free. My Redeemer has saved me from sin. My soul is awakened. I live. Anybody want to be free tonight? It's okay. Free from so raise your hand if you want to held me. Free from what fought me mentally. You captured me in my mind. I am free in my heart. If I am yours, I am free. Mentally, you captured me in my mind. I Jesus, the blood of Jesus against it. I come against it with the blood of Jesus. You might as well pass over. I speak freedom in the atmosphere. Oh yeah. Be free. Be free. Lift your hands if you want to be free. If you receive that, you are free. If you receive.
You're listening to Launch with Kim
And Dr. Newt
on PRAYz.FM.
Hello, welcome back.
to
Welcome
Launch.
back to Launch with Kim.
And Dr. Newt.
We're talking about millennials tonight, but before we get back into it, I just want to remind you, for those of you who are listening, if your pastors are having a difficult time getting the word out to their congregants who are unable to attend church because of this virus, please contact the radio station at PRAYz.FM. And Lady Rain, I call her Queen in Charge. Charles in Charge, honey. She will help you out. She is giving free airtime on, free. Saturday and Sunday so that you can reach your members and teach, share, and encourage them.
The station is international. There's 10,000 people who listen to it. So you want to, that's a good opportunity. That's a good evangelistic opportunity.
Yeah. So,
let's get back into our last section.
Before he goes there, he mentioned this book. I just had to go get it. Why Some Seeds Don't Grow by Dr. Newt. Please check it out on Amazon. A lot of the principles that we talk about on our show are right here in this book.
If you want a signed copy, you can come right to my website. It's www.drnewt, the number 2. So it's Dr. Newt, N-E-W-T, the number 2.com. It's in the store on the website, and we'll sign a copy and mail it to you.
Okay, so you need your launch pads for this last section again.
Yes.
You're going to need to write down some things. There are 5 things that we're going to share that you can get back on track to get that purpose moving.
So if you're a millennial and you feel like you've gotten off track, you made some mistakes, and life's happened fast and it's come down on you, or you're a parent of millennial or someone mentoring, or you're on track and you just want to try to shore up yourself a little better, there's 5 things that you can do. So the first thing you want to do is you want to acknowledge that you're off track.
Right.
Ain't no shame in the game. I messed up.
We've all done that.
I jumped the curb. Whatever the case may be, I've done that several times in my life. Can't tell you that in this platform, but maybe one day. So you just acknowledge it. You have to first acknowledge that this is an issue. This is where I am, and I need to do something different. If you never acknowledge it, never speak it and bring it out to the air, then you're always hiding it. You're reserving it. You're not bringing air to it, you're feeding it. All right? So acknowledge first. And then the next thing you want to do is you have to realize that those who were responsible for training you
did all
they could do.
All that they could do.
Yeah. So when I say those responsible for training you, I'm talking about your parents, grandparents, those, your community, the village, whoever it was, right? They did all they knew how to do. But here's the other piece. Or all they were willing to do.
Exactly.
So we're going to keep it real, like I said. So we made some mistakes as parents.
Absolutely.
Trying to make the best children that we can. But we can only work from our knowledge base and our experiences.
And our abilities.
Right. But I know many parents, or let me say people who have children, who did all they were willing to do. So they wouldn't go the extra mile.
Right.
I remember having to get on, I'm going to call it an argument, with parents when I was an administrator to get them to give their information so their student can fill out the FAFSA and go to college. So what we're bringing out to you is this. Whether someone did all they knew how to do or all they were willing to do,
that has no bearing on your worth.
And nothing to do with your worth.
No bearing on your worth at all.
It wasn't even about you.
Exactly. Even though that might be what you believe right now, we want to dispel that right now and tell you it has absolutely nothing to do with your worth.
Right.
Okay?
So you got to get past it.
Exactly.
And you got to put your mind back on your purpose so you can move forward and launch in your life.
You also have to know that their shortcomings were definitely not your fault.
Not your fault. You didn't do anything. You didn't do anything. What's your fault?
Right. But your next steps, they are your responsibility.
So we said it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility.
It is your responsibility to
move
do
forward.
more. Exactly.
Right?
You have to stop seeing yourself through
This is
people's
number
eyes.
three. This is number three.
Number 3, sorry. Stop seeing yourself through people's eyes.
Especially their eyes.
Their eyes, exactly.
The people who did all they could do or all they were willing to do. See, seeing yourself through someone else's eyes, that is a choice,
Yeah.
right? It's a choice. But it's a choice that you've been trained to do because it's all you know.
All right.
So we're telling you now, you have to look inward, like we started this broadcast, to see, what does God say about me?
Right.
He's predestined you for something great
Exactly.
before time,
4 times.
according to His good will
His
and pleasure.
goodwill
No
and
one else's. His good will and
Exactly.
pleasure. He's given you the greater blessing.
Greater blessing.
These are the things you have to see about yourself so you can choose not to look at what others have said.
And remember, there is a generation waiting on tiptoe, waiting for you to be released
The whole
and to
creation.
do things that you are called to do,
Whole creation.
so that they can be free and move forward in their life. Let's keep on.
Number
Number
4.
four.
Number 4 is find a different mentor.
Yeah.
Or mentors.
If that mentor doesn't work for you and they've done all that they can, then you need to find someone or someone's
Yes.
that can feed or seed into you
Right,
so that you grow.
So this is going to be tough for millennials because they're all about that loyalty thing. So you have to realize that your responsibility to your purpose outweighs loyalty to another human being. You understand that? Your responsibility
That's good.
to accomplish your purpose and bring it forth outweighs loyalty to another human being.
Right.
So you have to find another mentor. If that person has not accomplished or gone to where you want to go, then they're not your mentor. They've done all they can.
Right.
You have to look somewhere else to someone who has. And here's what you do. Once you find that person, you tell them, you verbally tell them, I see this in you. This is what I want to know.
Right.
This is where I want to go. So that person sees that that's what you want, and they know what to speak into and over your life.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter whether that person's a believer or not. That's a principle. There's power of life and death in your tongue. So that's everyone's tongue. So you've got to tell them. You got to get in the way so they know what you need from them.
Right.
And we're people of abundance. We're going to say what we need, and we're going to help in any way. So the 5th thing that you need to do is basically, actually,
There's 6.
there's 6.
You have to, there's 6 things. You have to change your diet.
Change that
I
diet.
could actually go with that first.
Yeah, I think that's why I
I
said
think
5.
I can stay with
See, that's why I said
the
5.
mentor. Change your
Change your
diet.
diet.
What, where, when,
Right.
the house.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're not just talking about what you eat.
Right.
We're talking about what you eat. What comes in your gates, your eye gates, your ear gates, your heart gate. Change your diet. People,
Right.
places, and things.
So then number 5 we would say would be really number 5 would be rewrite your plan.
Rewrite that plan, baby. Rewrite it. If the last one didn't work, that's all right. You look at it. Take what we say, eat the fish, spit out the bones. Take what you can, crumple it up, throw it over there, and rewrite another
again.
one. Literally rewrite it.
And start with the end in mind. Start with where you want to go.
Yes.
Start seeing yourself in that position, and then talk to yourself so you can come backwards from that. I'm here. So if it is to be a lawyer, okay, from a lawyer, in order to get there, these are the steps that I need to take.
Right.
Starting with the end in mind.
Right.
It's the educational thing that we use
Yes.
for everything. We apply that to everything.
Don't start with the steps from where you are to where you gotta go.
Right.
Because you'll get discouraged.
Exactly.
So you have to start from where you want to be. I saw Ali was online. So he owns the Coliseum, a fitness place. So you start with your vision of a fitness place.
Right.
And then what do I need to do to get there? I need
Establish
this
that.
kind of equipment. I need this. I need this certification. I need these things. And you work backwards.
These are just identifying the milestones.
Right.
You
That's-
know,
yeah.
all the way back to
These are
where
the
you are,
milestones.
where you're standing now.
But once you have those milestones written down, important, written down, my wife's telling me to hurry up. Once we have those the milestones written down, right, you need to now start from
Immediately.
where you are.
Right away.
Start from where you are.
Right.
You can't say, I gotta wait for this to happen. I don't have enough of this. I'm not good enough with that. No, you start right from where you are with what you have to do, whatever you can to start moving towards that first milestone. You saw me get hyped on that one, right? Because that's important. Because Newton's first law says a body in motion stays in motion, but a body at rest stays at rest.
Right.
So as long as you keep making excuses to yourself about why you can't go to that next milestone you identify, that's where you'll stay. So you gotta move.
Right.
You gotta move. And that mentor or whoever you submit yourself should be able to help you do it.
And focus on your new spot on the wall, whether it's that mentor or that goal or that plan that you laid out for yourself. Focus on that.
Yes.
That's what you have to focus on. All right, so we've got to go. We've got to go.
But
we're going to relaunch this week. We'll let you know. We'll look for a commercial. We'll post something to let you know when we're coming back on so we can talk a little bit more.
And we'll be way more interactive.
We'll be way more. And we're so thankful for any millennials that joined us tonight. We love the millennials because they have taught us so much, and we want to continue to learn from them. So as we asked earlier, are millennials misguided? Are they misunderstood? Misinformed? Or are they the most powerful? This is Kim.
And I'm Dr. Newt.
And you are at launch on PRAYz.fm. We'll see you this week.
10, 9, ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Tune in to Launch with Kim
And Dr. Newt,
Mondays at 6 p.m. on PRAYZ.fm.
Nobody stopping the shine. They try to break me, try to take me out, but I got Jesus on my side. So bad I thought I would die, but ain't no power stronger than the one